Hi, I'm elfredanwoko, and you can find me with that handle on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, where I post pictures of myself, fun videos, as well as covers of songs, trending songs, and other songs that I really love myself. So I really love to sing, and I love to share that gift with others. I also dance as well, yeah. And yeah, my birthday is on the 27th of December. Yeah, and I am a Gen Z. Thank you.
Freedom. What does it mean, really? The power or right to say or do what you want without anyone stopping you. Be honest, isn't that too much? As a Gen Z. We claim to live in a free society, but there are still rules guiding us. Rules that are there to protect us from ourselves. Rules. I know. Sometimes rules can be daunting, but they are there for a reason. Rules provide order in the midst of chaos. Without rules, there will be chaos. And that brings me to our parents' rules, house rules, curfew, what you should wear, choice of friends, etc. They may be the exact reason some of us wish to leave home. Oh, to be free from their, what do we call it, disturbance. If you're an older Gen Z, you're probably considering moving out of the house to rent an apartment or live with a friend or roommate. If you are a teenager still in secondary school, you are probably looking forward to getting into uni, to finally be free from the prying eyes of your parents. I was once like that, but it wasn't until I got in that I realized my concept, my idea of freedom was foolish. I always wanted to go home. Gosh, uni is fun and all, yes, but there's nothing like home. Freedom or no freedom, whatever your reason might be for wanting to leave home, I think it is good for us to understand what is in store, to get our minds ready, so to speak, for what is out there. And don't think I'm a professional at this or I'm some sort of expert. Like I stated in the first episode, I just think wanting to learn from other people's experiences and opinions would help a lot and provide answers to some of the things we are also asking.
Growing up as a child, I didn't really have any freedom. I didn't have any freedom. I couldn't visit people. People couldn't visit me. It's just church, school, house. It was just that triangle. There's nothing further than that triangle because my mother, she doesn't have friends like that, so she doesn't visit people as well. So I don't have like my mother's friends' children. I can't play with them because she doesn't have friends to play with their children. So it's church, house, school. Church, house, school. That's just triangle. I didn't like. I didn't really want to move out because how do I put it? So like inbreeded in me, like I didn't know any other way to live. I didn't know what was in the outside life. It's just like Rapunzel or something. I didn't know what was in the outside life. I just know I'm supposed to be in the house. Do not play across this corner. Do not do more than this. They tried to make the house so comfortable that I didn't want to move out. I started using phones at an early age. I had PlayStation, television, so there's something to watch. I was almost like an introvert, but growing up now, I'm like, okay, I didn't really want to be an introvert. It was forced upon me.
My idea of freedom when I was younger was them leaving the house, like when they were not around, so and we can do anything that we want. That's my parents. So then no, I didn't actually ever want to leave the house. That was before, but now I think about it, sure.
I stated earlier that rules are there to protect us, to provide order. But then you may ask yourself, why so many rules? House rules, as they are sometimes called, are the do's and don'ts that your parents have set for you. Such rules may include requirements about homework, chores, and curfews, as well as restrictions on your use of the phone, the TV, and the computer. Some rules may extend beyond the walls of your home to include your behavior at school and your choice of friends. Do you feel hemmed in by these restrictions? Perhaps some of these rules drive you crazy. Sometimes it may even feel like your parents are trying to wreck your social life. But you see, when you are young, you tend to think you know everything. So when your parents restrict you, it's easy to get upset with them. But their rules are really for the best. While young people often find themselves on the wrong side of their parents' rule, most youths acknowledge that some regulations are needed to prevent total chaos. But if house rules are necessary, why are some of them so annoying? Well, in today's episode, we shall be looking into our concept of freedom. Freedom from our parents, to be precise. We shall be asking ourselves questions and possibly reflect on ourselves while seeking to provide answers to know if indeed we are ready for the kind of freedom that we seek. So, let's get answers. Hey, welcome to my podcast Answers for Gen Z. I am your host, Osakpọlọ. If this is your first time listening, you are welcome to my 3-episode launch. I implore you to go back and listen to the first and second episodes. This is the 3rd episode, and that means subsequent episodes will be released every 2 weeks. You don't want to miss that. Follow and subscribe to the podcast on your podcast listening app. And give us a 5-star rating. It helps the podcast improve, it helps the podcast grow. On this episode, you get to hear the voices of amazing people I call the Answer for Gen Z Contributors, where they will share their opinions and experiences on the topic for today. You hear their voices in this order: Pace, Presley, Felicia, Bethel, Israel, Ivie, Adobe or Elfreda, and Dumebi. Adobe, Israel, and Ivie are debuting for the first time on the show, and you get to hear their contributions. So if you want to know what being a contributor is all about, again, go back and listen to the first and second episode. So yeah, let's get into today's podcast.
Hola, I'm Ivie, and I've lived 20 years as an earthling. Anyway, I'm a student and I am also a baker, although the baking is kind of like a side hustle thing. But yeah, I really love to bake. It's one of the things I love to do. One of the other things that I really love to do is having fun time with family and friends, engaging in meaningful conversations, reading books, just the normal Gen Z stuff. Yeah, that's me.
Let me tell you a story. You know how in some families there is that one child that it's like that child is very stubborn, gives everyone headache, comes with a lot of wahala. My immediate younger sister was that child. I mean, she and my mom didn't always get along while growing up, and there was a particular Sunday, I can't really remember what happened or caused it, but she was like, we're preparing to go to church. So at the time, our landlord would be the one who follow our landlord and his family, get into his car, and he takes us to church. So I don't know what caused the issue between the both of them that very Sunday, but my sister said something about how she's going to leave the house, that we're not going to see her again. And we went to church. Normally, after we close from church service, we are supposed to wait. Myself and my siblings were supposed to wait at a specific spot for our landlord, because sometimes the adult church they close late, and so we had to stay at specific spots. Church closed. Myself and my younger brothers, we went to this usual spot to wait. My sister did not come, and my mom came. The landlord came. Where is Osawese, my sister? And so she has not come. We can't find her. Okay, let's go to her class. Went to her class, Sunday school class. She wasn't there. Where is this girl? We searched the church. We couldn't find this girl, and the whole situation was quite embarrassing. And we just said, okay, this is what's going to happen. The landlord should take us home, and my mom said she would go and look for her. So we're at home, waiting for my sister. My sister wasn't at home. Thinking maybe she went home. My sister wasn't at home. I don't know how they found this girl that day. My mom came to tell us that she saw her. If you stay in Saple Road, PZ, you know what I'm talking about. Saw her in PZ. We stayed at Ivie at that time. So my mom came and said she saw my sister with her Ghana Must Go, dragging it along the road, PZ Road, staying in Ivie. Saw her in PZ Road, dragging it back. So I said, where are you going? She said she's going to my grandma's place, that she is tired. She's tired. We're giving her stress. My mom is giving her stress in the house, so she wants to leave. And you want to leave the house, you are not coming back again. Where are you going? She said she's going to stay with my grandma, and she wants to go and enjoy her life there. It was very, very funny. Unknown to her that if she had succeeded in actually going to my grandma's house, the beating she would have received. God, that brings me to the first question I asked my contributors for today. I asked, what was your idea of freedom when you were younger and living with your parents? Before you entered uni, of course. Did you ever want to move out of the house? A lot of the contributors had a lot to say, so I suggest you sit back, get a glass of water, popcorn, juice, anything, and listen. This episode is quite hilarious, and also it gets to a point where it becomes serious. So I'll leave you to it.
My freedom when I was younger was limited. It was limited. I don't go anywhere. The only places I go to is the only places that you see me is either where my people work or at home. That was all. That was the only freedom I had. That was the only freedom. It was very limited. In fact, did I even have freedom, Seth? There was no freedom at all. Let me not say limited. There was no freedom. And you know the funny thing about this? My parents, they will always complain that I don't socialize, that I'm always alone, that I'm always, talking to myself and all that I don't have friends. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, are you for real? Like, seriously? Like, come on. Even when I want to go outside and play with my fellow young people, they will not allow. God forbid. Especially football. Jesus. It's an aberration, an insult. If my father catches me playing football outside, no. It's finished. It is finished for me that day.
Oh, hi everyone, it's your girl, Bethel. Well, what was my idea of freedom when I was younger? Before I got into the uni, so it was basically like this. I thought it's freedom, and from nowhere, anything you just do will be working out. I never thought it was easy, but I just thought that at least if you put in effort, whatever you're doing will work out and stuff. So far, it's still freedom. But freedom with a lot of peeling and debit alerts and almost 90% of the things you're doing not working. Man, it's crazy, yo.
Just me basically. So that was my idea of freedom, like just doing my shit by myself, being alone, taking care of my stuff, like just being alone. That's what I actually discovered. Like that's my idea of freedom. And leaving the house, yeah, that was a daily debacle. Like I basically contemplated leaving the house several times. But then again, what actually held me back was possibly finance. That was actually what held me back. But then again, I was always wanting to leave the house because I felt like suffocated with people around.
My idea of freedom when I was younger was basically me not having to seek permission before doing stuff, not having to explain myself afterwards. And essentially, I just wanted to do anything that I wanted to do at my own convenience. That's what I thought freedom was before I got into the university. And yes, sometimes I just wanted to leave my house, I just wanted to go far, far away. And it was one of the reasons why I was hyped up about resuming because, well, I felt like I could actually see what this freedom thing was since I didn't feel like there was freedom in my house.
My idea of freedom was coming back home to your own space, being able to cook your own meals without thinking about anyone else. Specifically, like when we talk about spices, so there's this person who does not take chili, there's this person who does not like danajera, there's someone who doesn't like tamarind. So freedom was making your own meal in your own way, in your own time, and serving it in the way you like it to. Freedom to me was also having your own bedroom, being able to just sit and do your own thing, to read your favorite book without having to worry about taking someone's space, without having to worry about someone wanting to study, to pray, to make a video call. Freedom was being in your own room with your favorite bed sheet, with your favorite bed cover, with the window whereby you can sit at the balcony and just not talk to anyone but just enjoying the breeze. Freedom was being able to leave the house when you want to, and not because you have to shower at a specific time, you have to leave at a specific time so that you can be able to get the bus. You know, freedom meant you can leave at whatever time because you're leaving at whatever time to wherever you want to go, to be with whoever you want to be. Freedom was also being able to enjoy alone time, being able to take yourself out for ice cream without worrying about, should I save so that we can be able to buy milk? Should I not eat my favorite food so that we can be able to have cooking oil? You know, freedom was being able to sit and spend your own money or your savings on your favorite comb, on your favorite ice cream, buying your favorite earring. That was freedom. That is freedom to me. I think we associate freedom a lot with, of course, it needs money, but I think we associate freedom a lot with the big things. Freedom is actually with the littlest things. So, um, did I ever get to move out? Yes, I was able to enjoy 6 months on my own. It was the best thing ever. I would like to go back to that someday, um, because I think spending time alone is very important before you start thinking about starting a family. You know, being able to be on your own, do your own things, spend time in a quiet room without having to worry about conversations is very important. I enjoyed my time living in my own space, and I would love to experience that again. Yes.
Listening to the contributors reminisce what they felt or thought freedom should be about when they were much younger made me realize something. Especially the Nigerian contributors. We always felt like we're caged. And it's not surprising, really. I myself, for example, my idea for being free when I was a kid was simply leaving my parents' house, not staying with them. Not, I don't mean it that way, but I mean like just to let me leave the house. I mean, when it was time to go, time for the holidays to go stay with my grandparents or my uncles, my aunts, I was always excited. I mean, no more Osakpọlọ come and do this, Osakpọlọ come and do that. But Dumebi brought another interesting perspective where she felt being free was taking gratitude and experiencing the littlest things. Because from the examples she gave, it felt like she didn't have her own bedroom, or probably wasn't at liberty to decide the type of food she wanted to eat. So being free was being able to do all of that and a whole lot more. Without further ado, I'll be moving to the next question. And I asked the contributors to name some house rules that exist in their family. Do you think family rules are always fair? Which rule do you find the most difficult to obey, and why? I think that's a question that will be in the polls, in the Q&As of Spotify, if you are listening via Spotify. So do well to tell me some house rules that existed in your family. One house rule that I often broke in my home was that of washing plates. I mean, they beat me mercilessly. I was always in trouble for not washing plates as I went due. Sometimes I will have to beg my younger brother to help me with the dishes because I just saw it as a chore. One terrible task. And sometimes my mom will come back from work and see that I haven't washed the dishes and she would scold me. Sometimes I get the beating of my life. But now washing the dishes doesn't take much from me. I just do it. I do it so easily now. So I will leave it to you to hear what the contributors have to share.
Well, we didn't really have any major family rules. I see people complaining on Twitter like they had curfew, that curfew was too early, or they don't allow them, their parents don't allow them to visit others because others are not visiting. I didn't visit anybody, so I don't have curfew. I don't, what do you call it? There's nobody to visit me, so I won't visit them. So there was no any major family rule. You just go to school, come back, go to school, come back. Nothing more than that.
Well, in my family, there is only one rule. You fuck around and you find out. That was it. Simple as that. My parents don't need to tell you what to do and all that. Follow this rule and follow that rule. No, nothing like that. They want you to fuck around, obviously, and they know that you will fuck around. Then you find out what will happen. That was how we learned. There was no rules like that. Just that. It was simple. Even when my dad is scolding me, he will say, Presley, there are some things that I don't need to tell you to do. Use your initiative.
House rules number one. We have any house rules? Okay, you must do your chores on Saturday. You must not put food by yourself. There's a designated person that is put food in our house then, so you don't just go to the pot. And it's usually the person that cooks it or my mom. Then 1 meat per person, except my parents give you another meat. We don't go out. You have to tell them where you're going to, and with permission. Like when I mean go out, like I don't mean like go out and visit somebody, but like leave the house literally. We're not allowed to like leave the house. Then visiting our neighbors was a no, unless if you're like, I was going with my mom or my dad, but like to go to our neighbor's house alone, they do not like it. You don't enter our parents' side section of the house anyhow, especially with someone else, so they cannot enter inside that person's house. Then when we were younger, there was a cup that my dad and my mom used to use. Nobody can use their cup and their spoon. Sometimes there will be restrictions on TV. Sometimes there'll be like no watching of TV for so period of time. I don't think family rules are fair. Like that meat thing now, that was not fair because obviously they could take how many meats that they want. But the most difficult rule I had problem obeying was not going to my neighbor's house. I think that was the most difficult rule. The fact that like we had to stay in the house all day, like we couldn't really leave. But after some points, like you get used to it.
In my house. Till now, I cannot leave the house. But I must take permission. Even though I take permission, I have like curfew. On like that time in secondary school, self, my friends would be like, "Let's go." I'm like, go where? What am I telling my mom? That I'm going to. And in my house, you don't have a phone till like you're in SS3 or SS2. That one I don't even understand. There was this rule that my mom bought that every time you eat, wash your plate. Nobody even followed that one in the house. That one I didn't know. I could not obey that one properly. And she just said, it's a rule. And you mop the house. I'm like, in fact, I will mop the house only on Saturday. Which one is everyday mopping? When I know do that one. It's just crazy.
Okay, rules. Let's see. I don't stay late at night. You can sleep out. Uh, yeah, my hairstyle, mm, dressing code. I don't think any of the rules was fair. Nah, none of the rules was fair. Apart from the fact that yeah, you gotta be disciplined, you got to live a good life, you gotta be Christian, like you gotta go to church, you gotta. Apart from those ones, yeah, I think none of the rules was fair because I mean, come on, when I finally got out there, I discovered I was basically not street oriented or street smart. Despite I was intelligent, I wasn't street smart, so I had to like pick up those things from the street, which I have gotten if I was allowed to, you know, familiarize myself with people out there while growing up instead of being caged at home, that kind of thing. The rule that was difficult to obey was basically keeping relationship with the opposite gender. Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, I think at the young age of 14, I was started dating, but I had to hide it.
We had a few rules in the house. But there's this general African house setting. Mine wasn't any different, but some that I found to be a bit particular to my household was this no late night food. Whenever my mom finish from the kitchen and everybody has had dinner, that's the end until the next day. You cannot say you are hungry after you've eaten dinner. It's not it's not possible. But I later realized that some people eat late night food for a living. But it's not just something in my house. It's a that one is kind of like a rule. After she has already finished cooking and everybody has eaten, when it gets to a certain time, the kitchen is locked and you will sleep till breakfast. Unless you are sick, and you need to take drugs. That you need to eat food before you can take your medicine. But apart from that, yeah, that was a rule. It's still a rule though, but it's more flexible. It's more flexible now. Then there's also this rule of, but I think that one should be general. You can't just wake up, dress up, and go out. You can't go out without permission, and then you have to give my parents a certain time when you're going to come back. If you're going out with your friends, and you tell them I'll be back by 4, be back by 4. So that was more of a regulation, not exactly a rule. What else can I say was a rule then? Ah, you have to make sure that the house is already clean before you can have breakfast, before you can even think of putting on the TV. It was totally fair because I'm sure my parents just wanted to keep a very orderly household. But even at that, you see that rule of making sure the house is swept before you have breakfast. That one I used to struggle. I used to struggle with it. Sometimes I don't even used to obey it. Sometimes I wake up so hungry. What do you want me to do? Die while sweeping? Please, I will clean the place. Just let me eat first. That was one particular rule. How did I forget this one? But that is a general one, sharp, but you don't talk back. So if there's a misunderstanding, your parents will just rant, and you're expected not to talk back. But sometimes, especially when I know that okay, this misunderstanding, if I don't speak up now, there are some things that I will not be able to clear. So I would talk back sometimes, and it usually got me in trouble. But what's the life without risk?
We used to have house shoes when I was growing up, but those were for when we were kids, like stuff like you're not going to use your phone above like 7 p.m. Yeah, you should be asleep by 9 and all of that. But now the rules have gotten more flexible. You don't really abide by them anymore. And yeah, there's no like really strict rules like that. When my parents can just come up with one law and not allow you to, do something they want to do, can just like not approve of it. That usually seems unfair and frustrating.
Every household has their own family rules. Some of the family rules that existed in our family. First things first, I would like to say that I grew up in a household that housed very many people. So not only was it my nuclear family, but we always housed our extended family. So some of the rules um, was especially with, it was a timetable, if I may put it that way. So in the morning, shower time. You had to be able to shower within the least amount of time as possible to allow other people to be able to shower, the amount of water you were able to use, the amount of food you were able to eat. So budgeting was very important when it came to shows, whose show was coming at what time, and how were you able to ensure that everyone was able to see their favorite show without someone feeling as if they're being neglected, as if they're not being taken care of, as if they're not being seen and heard. So those are some of the rules. Church was important. Everyone had to go to church. For my family members who were Muslim, going to the mosque was very important. So Fridays and Sundays were very important days when it came to fasting. Everyone was being given their space and time to be able to fast and adhere to their religious beliefs. Other than that, we had respect. Respect was paramount. In an African household, as this, some things were not, it was not open to be able to talk about them, and sex, periods, and whatnot. But there's some days we would be able to open up and talk about it. Dealing with if there was a squabble, it needed an elder person to deal with it, listen to both sides, and to be able to come to a conclusion and ensure that both parties who were aggrieved were able to come up with their own solution and implement that solution in their own way. So sort of like, what do you want to do to be able to solve this, as opposed to someone telling you that you should have done this. It was more of a question like, do you think this was right? It's like, do you now understand why they did this, and do you now understand why your actions hurt them? So um, things like that, which some of the rules that were most difficult to obey was especially with respect. Our society is very liberal, if I may say that, but at the end of the day, we're still Africans. So sometimes it was a bit difficult to be able to come out and say, you actually hurt me. That was one, and it was very difficult for them to come back and say sorry. So most of the things were just left in the air a lot of the times, which has affected relationships. And now into our adulthood, now people are working towards changing that. Yes. Okay.
You can see that different households have similar house rules, but I feel like communication would have helped. Communicating with our parents would have helped in at least giving us some level of freedom. Communication, they say, is key. Myself, for example, myself and my dad, we didn't get along well, especially when I became a teenager. The house was hot. My mom got tired, and an opportunity came. I was sent to go and live with my maternal uncle. So that happened, but the relationship between me and my mom was quite tight. I talked with her about everything and anything, well, except from matters pertaining to sex. I mean, that's quite common in most African households. What we know about sex, we either learn it through movies or the internet. It's sad, but that's how it is. So I talk with my mom, I gist with her. If anything happens in school, she's kind of the first person to know. And we talk about my friends, she talks about her friends and stuff like that. How well do you communicate with your parents or guardians? Is it easy, or do you feel they wouldn't understand? Would you say they are your gist partners?
Well, I wouldn't say they're my gist partners, but they've tried to make it like I have a safe like it's a safe environment talking to them. They're trying to be like friends more than parents at the same time, but they are still parents. I still see them as an authoritative figure. And I'll say we communicate well enough. Tell them I'm not really well enough. I just tell them what they need to know. It's always on a need to know basis. but I don't communicate them like real stuff, like deep stuff, and I don't even plan to improve my communication with them because I know that if they know most of the things I'm doing or most of the things I want to do, they're going to flip out. So there's no need in improving the communication with them. Just tell them what they need to know and what they want to hear.
I would not say they are my gist partner, but we do communicate well. Yes, very well. Very, very well. I would not say gist partners like like my friends now. There's no, we don't have that at all. There's always a line now. You are the parent, you are the child, of course. But we communicate well, though. We communicate very well.
Okay, so when I was younger, I communicated. I used to tell my parents like everything. But now, I don't think so. They will not understand because the age gap is too much. Like, and the values are too much. Like the value gap. How will I put it? Like there are some things they strongly believe in or uphold that I feel, do you understand, like I don't uphold or I feel like are unnecessary. And so if I tell them that, oh, I'm doing this thing or I want to do this and I want to discuss, not even like things to do, like if I want to discuss certain topics, I already know where that topic is going to end. So like they will not understand, they don't understand your point of view. They might just want to hear it, but in their head it's not entering. So that's why it's difficult to, like, very, very difficult to communicate with them.
When I was much younger, mhm, I didn't really communicate with my guardians because I'm staying with my guardians, not my parents. I didn't communicate properly with them. I didn't feel too comfortable. Or maybe I did feel comfortable. I was just like, I don't want to cry or stuff. I don't know what I felt, but I did not communicate with them. I did not even try to. So we just, all of us just did. I think I don't big now. Like I've grown to this stage before I can talk to them. I'm talking to them well.
There was never a time I communicated with them because I think, yeah, though my dad, though, we don't actually talk. He's a cold kind of person. He's a cold motherfucker, I put it that way. We really talk on like really serious issues like, okay, what are your needs for school? Uh, okay, you got a result, what are your plans and all of that. Apart from that, we don't actually talk on casual levels. And my mom, nah, I learned better because anytime I tell my mom something and I got her pissed, she's gonna use it against me later on.
I can say I communicate with my parents well. Well, I communicate with them okay. There's this parent-child relationship. Sometimes we can be formal, sometimes we can be funny, but there are some things that I just feel like, nah, it's not going to be easy for us to talk about. But generally, I do communicate with my parents well, although I communicate with one more than the other. But saying we should, I don't know, can I say we are just partners? No, I'm just partners with my mom more than I am with my dad. But everybody used to just share, everybody used to just with everybody, so we're quite free.
Communication with my dad is pretty easy, but with my mom, not so much. I get along with my mom when I have the same opinion as her, but when we don't have the same opinions, it doesn't really go down well. So the popular scripture, I don't know exactly where it is in the Bible, that says, "Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he grows old, he will not depart from it." So my mom is probably a fan of that scripture, and so when she doesn't understand that, children will grow and start thinking for themselves and have different opinions. It's not everything that you believe and they're going to believe in. There are some things that they're going to challenge that I don't start questioning as they get older. And she is not having it.
We're African, so a lot of the times it was not easy to open up about a lot of the things. So during our younger years and teenage times, it was very difficult because I don't think of myself as Gen Z. I don't think I'm Gen Z. I think I'm a millennial. So we were the generation that had started speaking up, you know, more of like trial and error, and a lot of times you were punished for that. So you were unable to say I was hurt, I felt this way and I felt that way, which was very difficult. So now in our adulthood, we're learning how to unlearn that, if I may put it that way. We are learning about this hurt me and this is why I am the way I am. So how will I be able to deal with this and become a better human being? We are also going back to our elders, our parents, and saying, when you did this, this hurt me, and I've never forgotten it, even though it happened like 20 years ago, 10 years ago. You know, I would say our communication has become better because we're now understanding each other, and also because this space, we don't stay together, so you are able to understand this is why someone was like this, because you are also crammed, so there's a lot of stress going on. Are we just partners? Not necessarily so, because again, some of the things is not easy to talk about. For example, a lot of African children are taught that being in a relationship and sex is wrong. So now as an adult, sometimes you're afraid to open up, you're afraid to love, and you view sex as a horrible thing. And so starting out and saying, I have a boyfriend, I have a girlfriend, I'm getting married, it has been difficult because you're thinking, my parents will know I'm having sex, and yet they told me that sex was a bad thing. So that not really just partners, but we're working on that.
How do you think you can improve your communication with your parents? Well, I don't think I need any improvement because we already get along very well. Yes, we get along, especially in the nights when my father comes back from work. We talk about our favorite things. Wrestling, especially number one, is wrestling. My father is a huge wrestling fan. When we're small, we all of us will sit down there, we'll be watching wrestling, discussing. No. In fact, I think when it comes to conversations, wrestling is what we discuss even more. I believe so.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. If you have any ideas, please, you can tell me. Because I feel like communication is supposed to be two ways. And communication only progresses when, like, you not really understand, but like you're ready to hear the second point of view. But if you're saying something and the other person is not understanding what you're saying, or the other person does not want to accept what you're saying, which is usually the case, it might be the other way. It might be like my parents are not getting my points, or I am not willing to get their points. You understand? So I don't feel like effective communication has taken place, because the definition of effective communication is exchange of ideas, letting the other person know how you're feeling in a way that they will understand. But if you're letting someone else know, okay, this is what I feel about this, or you're saying, oh, this is what this person said about this, and they are not understanding what you're saying, effective communication is not taking place. So like the I feel like the problem is the fact that we are both very strong, very we can both be very headstrong in communicating. And like I think I get that from them, because lion or the born goods. Because to me it's like, if I think, or if I believe, or I've proven something to be correct, or I believe in something, like when you're trying to tell me otherwise and your explanation is not making sense, so I'm not going to want to meet in the middle. And it's the same thing with them. So that's the problem. If we can be more open to each other views, and I feel patience too, because we are both impatient, both my mom, my dad, and myself, when it comes to listening or hearing each other out. So sometimes some things they might be saying might actually be making sense, but because I'm already like, I don't know, getting offended, or I'm like, to me the conversation is not really making sense and I don't really want to hear what they're saying. I'm not patient enough to listen. I want to work out of that conversation.
If they can be less judgmental and just listen more and just try and understand this generation that we are in, everything cannot be the same. Things have changed and they need to understand that people change, right? That our communication will be very light.
if you want to speak to anybody and you're not in a good mood, it can ruin the conversation. So whenever I try to initiate a conversation with my parents, I just try to make sure that they're in a good mood and they're actually emotionally ready or in a good peace and place, in a good place emotionally for the conversation before I can say anything else. I will not want to go and just start talking about something when I know that either my mom or my dad they are actually angry, and I'll just go there and blow everything up. So that's just one thing that I can say I can do to improve. Always try to catch them in a good mood.
I have realized that the only way I can improve communication with my parents, my mom especially, is by, just controlling my temper. Primarily just hold it back in. My mom responds to, constructive communication. Even if she's not always like that. She's never like that. My mom feels she has a right to, be very brutal and, and all that when she's when she's angry. But you have to be very coordinated when you're talking to her. You have to control your temper. You have to be, have so much self-control and present it to her in a very thoughtful way, even if she's not doing the same. But you know how Nigerian parents are, Nigerian mothers, it's normal. At least my dad is cool and calm. Not everybody has the privilege of having a calm dad, so yeah.
First things first is to improve communication with yourself. I don't think you can start from an abyss. You have to start from somewhere. Why do I say you have to start from yourself? Because there are things you have to recognize from your childhood there are traumas you have to recognize from your childhood that you have to deal with. In an African household, again, at least let me say post colonialism, because a lot of this is post colonialism for many Africans, we're not really allowed to say no. And sometimes we're not allowed to say yes. But then you become an adult and everyone teaches you, you need to learn to say no, you need to learn to say no. But then we're not taught how to say no, when to say no, and how to receive a no. So everyone just thinks as an adult you just stand up and say no, I don't want to go for this wedding. But then what happens when someone says no, I don't want to come to your party? you know Effective communication is also, like I said, talking about yourself. A very good example is something I have started with potential boyfriends, if I may say that, talking stages. Whenever I feel uncomfortable with something, I usually come out and say it. Now, when we say come out and say it, it does not mean that you pissed me off. No. I was having a conversation. I started this thing whereby I asked them, hey, I wasn't comfortable about something you did or something you say. Please give me a time slot when we can be able to discuss this, because I would like to air it out and find out your views on this situation. Now, most of them did not accept that, of course, so that ended up destroying whatever was started, if I may put it that sense. But some accepted it. And I remember the first time someone accepted it, and I went like, I did not like the tone of your voice. It made me feel this way. It made me feel like you didn't care, and that is why I ended up shutting down and not talking to you for a few days. It wasn't that I was really angry at you. I did not like the way you did this specific thing. And they ended up coming out and saying that they felt bad about it, that they did not know how to say sorry, and that they were actually afraid of talking to me during that period we were quiet, because they felt that they would aggravate the situation further. We ended up laughing about it, and it has also taught him to come out and say whatever he's going through. One of my favorite situation was that when he came out to say like, I'm really pissed off, I don't feel like talking to anyone, but if you don't mind, like, could we have a video call where I don't talk, we just have this silent video call whereby I just mutter to myself until I feel better. It was the first time again I was experiencing that, so I just said okay. And he actually called. We had the video call. It was, I think, a 15-minute video call. We didn't say anything. We didn't have any conversation. He was just cursing, like in his under his breath. I think as Africans, we for like 15 minutes. And then he hung up. And later on, he came and said, "At least now I can be able to talk and explain to you why I was pissed off. It was something to do with work." And I gave him some time. I asked him, like, would you, after this, how would you like me to handle this? Would you prefer if we don't talk and I give you some time? He ended up saying yes, he wanted some time. We didn't talk for 2 days, and he came back and we talked about it. So with your parents, you have to learn how to communicate with yourself first. And that means knowing when you're angry, why you're angry, and what will help you um, sort of deal with your anger. That way, when you go to your parents, you're ready for it. Because the thing with parents is you're dealing with two situations. One is you want to come out and say the truth, but at the same time, because they also have not experienced talking about what they feel, they will come at you. So there'll be a lot of guilt tripping. So how are you going to create this communication and separate yourself in a way whereby you'll say, I told them, like, mom and dad, I was hurt because of this, because you said this, and I'm unable to deal with it now, but I'm trying to create a relationship with you. But I will need you to also acknowledge that you hurt me and that you want to change. Do they accept this? Most of the time they don't. They sink into their whole parental I know more and you don't situation. But I have accepted it, and I am glad that because of this it's given me peace of mind and of heart, that I can be able to say my truth without hurting their feelings, and give them the space to decide whether they want to come and work on this or not.
Okay, we've heard what the contributors have said so far. The truth is, it usually isn't easy when you talk about improving communication with your parents. But first off, concerning what Elfreda said, having conflicting opinions doesn't necessarily mean you don't communicate well. But it has to do with you understanding and coming to respect these opinions. Because when you understand each other, when you respect your parents, when you respect each other's points of view, it helps to drive the communication forward, the conversation forward. So, yeah. And just like Dumebi said, what she said about improving your communication with your parents, it may sound strange, weird, because it's not something Africans are used to, having a tete-a-tete, like a genuine, honest conversation, especially with your parents. It sounds weird. It's something like that Westerners do, Americans do, but if you come to think about it, it helps. And one thing that will help us, because I'm not exempted from this too, so that will help us to build an environment where we can have that tete-a-tete, is if we create that environment ourselves. How can we do that? Get to spend time with them. And when I say spend time, get to know what they like doing, engage in some of the activities that they do that you can do. Do that with them, and also I help make them also understand some of the things that you like doing. Make them engage in some of the things you like doing, some of the movies you like to watch, the music you listen to, shared your music taste with each other, talk about politics, sports. Maybe that they don't have sport, but you generating an interest shows them that, oh, you are willing to understand them, and they'll be willing to understand you more. And from there, you can water the ground where if they do something that you don't like and you want to speak to them, it waters the ground, makes the environment less tense, and you'll be able to share your grievances with them intelligently, and they will listen. They will genuinely listen. So I think that's something that we can do, because to help us understand one another. So the next question I asked them was, why might your parents seem overly protective of you at times? Because sometimes it feels like they are treating us like kids, especially if you're 17, 18, 19 and above. And they're still restricting you from a lot of things. And you're like, I'm an adult, I'm a big boy, I'm a big girl, free me, I beg. It's like they don't even trust you. And they should at least do away with some of the rules. You even have friends whose parents never restrict them, or there's some things that they do and their parents allow them to do, and you're like, my father will not let me do this. And you kind of crave what they have, because it seems like they are free to do whatever they like. So why might your parents seem overly protective of you at times?
Well, I think my parents are overly protective of me because of the way the society is, the crime rate. At the time we're growing up, like now, there's hardly any violence crime because of cybercrime. But like 10 years ago, violence crime, cultism, what they call it, cultism, armed robbery, kidnapping, a lot of crime. So they probably didn't want me to get into harm's way. And my dad is not really in the country, so all he gets to know about Nigeria is what he sees on the news. And what is on the news is never good. So he sees Nigeria as this terror zone where there's shooting everywhere. So just to they are probably trying to protect me from the outside world. And they also think that they lock me in the house, imprison me like Rapunzel, that I wouldn't be able to like do things that they don't want me to do. Like they are trying to program me in a certain way, and they think that by locking me in the house will prevent me from knowing other. How do I put this? Like they want me. Let's say, for example, they don't want me to smoke and stuff like that. So if I don't leave the house, I wouldn't see smoking. I will hardly see smoking or people smoking, and it doesn't become a habit. So I think they're protecting me against the outside world.
It's the parents' job to be protective, even though they do it most of them do it in an annoying way, but still it's their child who won't want to protect their child.
I feel like the only reason is because they love you now. Abby. They love you and they care about you. That's it. They feel like you don't know, you're young, you understand. Like this thing that you even want to do, or you claim that you know how it's going to end, you really know, even if they don't know. But they're just like, don't try it out because we don't know how it's going to end. And the only reason why they would be like that is because they care for it. That is it. That's just the truth. No matter how they show it, they might show it in the wrong way sometimes, or they might, that overly protectiveness might just be like my parents now. They were very, even now, very, very, very. When they say protective, their own is extra. But I know that the reason why they put those restrictions, or they were so protective of me, or are so protective of me, because they love me. They are afraid that I might do something wrong that would hurt me, and they don't want to see me get hurt.
Because the world is bad. And I get that one's coming from a place of love. The world is bad. The whole society is wicked, and they will try to protect you in any way possibly they can. That's one I understand now. When I was much younger, I said they are punishing me, but now I think I get it now, because it's a very wicked world out there.
There's this stereotype about first daughters, and then there's being a first and only daughter. So I don't know, maybe that's why they are overprotective sometimes, but I don't know. I just feel like parents generally are very protective of their children. But then there's my own case. Well, I'm not against the protection though. But the only time when I feel like the protection gets out of hand is when I start to feel caged. I do not like to feel caged. So I don't have anything against being protected. But being overly protected, like I said, the moment I feel like I'm being caged, yeah, I will not like that. I'll speak up about it, talk to my parents about it. Like, I don't really like how you don't allow me to do this and do that. Well, communication is key, honestly.
My parents seem overly protective of me at times. That's true. So the first reason I think that our parents generally love us and want the best for us, and they don't want us to make the same mistakes they made, and they don't want us to, fall prey to situations that they are saying that we are not saying according to them. I kind of think that's true because can remember when I was younger, when I thought I was so smart and I had it all figured out, and and I'm older, and I was like, really? So I know that there's a lot for me to learn in life. But then there are also not so good reasons. There are side effects of these things. And that one is their image and their reputation. Can be very valid, but sometimes it's unnecessary. Peer pressure and influence among our parents. The peer pressure is not a youth or Gen Z thing. Peer pressure is in every age group. And I think our parents are very prone to peer pressure. Don't you realize that the way your parents, act with you is largely influenced by what their friends or what the society is saying, Another thing too, I think parents think that when they cage their children, that it's going to make them less likely to stray from, the things that they have grown up with. But I think it's not fair. I think it's actually cruel. You have to let them just teach. I have this, my favorite quote from Joseph Smith. I teach them the correct principles and let them govern themselves. So teach them what you believe is a true principle and let them think for themselves, experience life. They also have to make mistakes too, and experience, regrets and setbacks too. It's part of life. It makes your experience richer. So being overprotective is not good in my opinion, but I understand why. And I get it, even though it really sucks at times.
It really does suck because it makes me remember because recently one of my aunties, she's always complaining how myself and generally all of us, the cousins and my siblings, we are kind of green, naive. We don't know places in Benin, and she's gradually trying to help us get out of that shell. I think now one of my cousins is trying to get into. She just got admission into uni, and immediately she got admission, my aunt made sure, because her dad, this particular cousin of mine, her dad virtually keeps them at home. They don't go anywhere. They literally don't go anywhere. The only time they are allowed to go somewhere is maybe during the holiday period, where the family comes together and we spend the holiday together. Either that or school, and maybe if the father is driving to get something and it takes one or two of them to come follow him. So my aunt is trying to do away with that stuff, because I hear her often complain that we don't know anywhere, we're naive, and it's not good that our parents brought up like that, because she also attests to the fact that it has something to do with the way they were brought up, because my granddad I'm talking about my maternal family now. My granddad always like had strict restrictions for all of them at home, but the restrictions can only get you to an extent. You will get, if you are the type that is stubborn and you rebel, good for you, honestly. Because rebel for something good. Because why I said restrictions can only get you some, you can only endure this, adhere to these restrictions to a certain extent, is because while I'm saying my maternal uncle and aunties, they were restricted. Some of them left the country. Like, they left the country and they called they called my granddad, see, I'm out of this place. I'm no longer in Nigeria. I'm abroad. So crazy stuff like that. So it just goes to show that sometimes being restricted it usually doesn't pay off, because you get to be in an environment where you literally don't know how things work in society. So my aunt is trying to help us get out of that. My cousin knows places in Benin now, and the funny thing is that her parents see this as a good opportunity, and they usually send her on errands on her own. It gives a sense of, oh, this kid is growing up, let me cut her some slack. So yeah, I saw a tweet that said our parents weren't strict, we needed our structure. If you come to think about it, it's kind of true, because there are some people I've met in this school. Not to call myself righteous or anything, but I just end up giving God thanks for my parents, because the things I've seen, the things I've heard, even though they might not be true, but the way some people behave, you just get it discombobulates your mind, because you're like, that's what people be. And you get to find out that these things that have been imbibed in you actually pays off in the end, because you get to use them when you're in the midst of people, especially if your parents really did a good work on you. It doesn't matter if they are helicoptering, even if to some extent their helicoptering can be so extreme. There are some helicopter parents where I'm like, can you give somebody strength to breathe? Like, give the person space to breathe. Every second, how are you? Like, there are some parents, I got to know of this recently, where they get the number of a friend. It might not even be a friend, maybe a classmate, and they call. If they're not able to reach their child, they end up I know this particular parent, they call this roommate of mine almost every time to ask for their child, and I'm like, isn't that too much? Is it not too much? Sometimes my mom only calls me, like, I don't think this week I've heard from my mom. Maybe if I should hear from her, maybe once in a week. Either she calls me or I end up calling her just to check up, because you still need to trust your children. You need to trust that, especially if you know that the kids you put in school, you've done your work, you've done your job, so you should be able to to trust that they will not let you down, so to speak. So yeah, it's their responsibility to take care of you. It's their responsibility. You are their child. So there are some parents that believe that doesn't matter, however they decide to take care of you, it's the right way. So there's nothing you can do or say that will change that. So yeah. And that brings me to the next question. For the next question, why might your parents hesitate to give you greater freedom even when you have worked hard to prove yourself trustworthy?
I'm not even demanding for greater freedom. I just accept the way things are here, and I'm not trying to put myself trustworthy because they they hardly have. How do I put it? They are not going to buy it, so I don't have. I'm not aiming for greater freedom.
They don't trust you. That even if you feel like you have proven yourself trustworthy, you have not actually proven yourself trustworthy, because if they trusted you, do you understand? The greater freedom will be there. It will actually be there. To an extent, I feel like as a parent, you never really fully trust your children. You get, so you have some certain doubts that, oh, will they make this mistake or will they not? The problem now is that you just have to allow them. Like, just, there's always this fear of them getting hurt or doing things that they would regret, like yourself. So, but to some extent, you just have to lay back and just allow them to, even if they make mistakes or they get hurt, just know that that's part of life.
What do I even need the freedom to do? What? If it's, for example, if it's maybe I want to go for a party with some friends, and my parents were already protective, and oh, I don't want you to go there, I don't want you to dress like this, I don't want you to be in such company, blah 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 blah, and maybe I've already tried to work hard to please them just so they can let me go, and then they don't let me go, I will not be happy. But I feel like they have their reasons, and they are humans, and they're not just any humans, they are my parents. So there's this bond, there's this love, there's this obligation to protect that is really, really heavy on them. So they may be extra scared and concerned for me and the decisions that I'm going to make, even though it might really get annoying sometimes. Like, cut some slack for you.
Why might your parents hesitate to give you greater freedom even when you work hard and prove yourself trustworthy? First things first, the word trust is relative. You may think you're trustworthy, but you're not. Why? Because human beings understand and accept communication non-verbally. A lot of the times we don't know that we've shown people that we're untrustworthy. Sometimes it might not be your fault, sometimes it's their fault. And two, you also check your background. What was your attitude during your teenage years? Was there something you did that made them think, I cannot trust this child again? Because then most of the time people hoard pain. People love to hoard pain. And so something might have happened 10, 20 years ago, and they're still in that aspect. So then it becomes a whole other issue that you may want to think of. Maybe they were not given the avenue to be themselves. So then they're looking at you like, if I let this child go, like, how will they handle it? You know, for women, most especially, like, the only house they live in, if it's not their own, is their husband's house. And I always advocate for living on your own. It's not really because you want the space or privacy, it's because you also get to learn about yourself. Who am I in the morning? Who am I in the evening? Who am I when there's no one in the house? Those are questions you need to ask yourself now, because most people have not been given the opportunity to ask and answer those questions. They feel that because I didn't have this, then you will not have this. Because I went through this hard experience, then you have to go through this hard experience. So it becomes that it's a two-way situation. Either they did not have it and they don't want you to have it, or you showed them that you are not trustworthy. Again, I would like to place this as a background. You're dealing with African parents, so sometimes they may just want to frustrate you, and not really give you that opportunity to be yourself. Other times they may be afraid to say, I'm afraid. If you leave, who will I talk to? If you leave, who will I vent to? If you leave, who will protect me? So you may need to consider those four before you let that out.
Think about it. Would you really be better off without restrictions? Be honest with yourself. They should be lenient with you now. Are you sure you've not joined bad gang? But sometimes though, you may feel overwhelmed by your parents' rules. So how then can you gain some level of relief? Here's a tip. If you want your parents to give you more freedom, first build a record of abiding by their rules. When you have a track record of being obedient, they will be more likely to grant your requests. So how then can you build communication that works? One, you should learn to control your emotions, just like Adobe said. I think they basically answered this question. Learn to control your emotions. Try to see things from your parents' point of view. For example, if your parents are reluctant to let you attend a certain gathering, instead of arguing, you could ask, what if a mature, trustworthy friend came along with me? Your parents may still not grant your request, but if you understand their concerns, you have a better chance of suggesting an acceptable option. Yeah. So another tip is that you should build your parents' confidence in you. You should know that you owe your parents your obedience, even though some of us may not totally believe in this. But if you prove trustworthy, even in the littlest things, your parents are likely to trust you more in the future. Of course, if you continually let your parents down, don't be surprised if they reduce or even close your quote-unquote line of credit. So, what then do you do if a rule has been broken? Speak the truth. I beg. Well, just try your best to salvage the situation. But speak the truth, or some level of the truth. Apologize. Some of us cannot say sorry. Some of us think our parents are wrong. Sometimes they might be the ones wrong, but there's one thing about African parents. They would rather, let me not say, I beg, they will not want to tell you sorry. There was a period where there was an altercation between myself and my dad, and the thing was bothering my mom. I think I've said this before. So my mom was really worried, and the way everything was going, it sort of looked like I was the one at fault. So they said I needed to apologize to him, and reluctantly, Daddy, I'm sorry. And he was like, I remember that day he was lying he was laying on a mat, and I met him and I knelt down. I was like, Dad, I'm sorry. His back was facing me, and he turned. I was like, sorry for what? I was like, anyway, I've wronged you, I'm sorry. I was like, it's your own cup of tea. I don't care. go screw yourself. That attitude, you gave off that vibe, and I look at my mom like, me, I don't say sorry, oh. I don't know what else people want from me again. So my mom now had to like, said he's sorry, please forgive him. And the matter passed. A few months later, I started staying with my uncle. Oh my god. Another thing you should do when the rule must have been broken is you should accept the consequences. Your first response may be to dispute the punishment, especially if it seems unfair. However, taking responsibility for your actions is a sign of maturity. Your best option may simply be to work at regaining your parents' confidence. Remember, your parents have the responsibility to exercise reasonable control over your actions. Yeah. They are kind of lord over your life, especially if you are not in your, what's it called? In your early 20s. The early 20s, I mean 23, 24. I beg, early 20s, anyhow. Now, do you think you are ready to leave home? Those of you that are still like, I can't come out from this house. I am fed up. Like, I need to be my own person. I need to be my own man. You know, do you think you are ready to leave? Why? Why do you think you are ready to leave the house? Yeah? Especially in this, what's it called? Economic hullabaloo. Bro, I'll stay in my parents' house. I don't care. Even though honestly, at the moment, I seriously have no right to say I'll stay in my parents' house because I'm literally staying on my own now. I mean, if we're to be done with this semester, there's a high chance that it will be my spirit, soul, and body that will be in that house. Those of you who know why, know why. Maybe if, later on in the year, I would give you guys my testimony, and maybe then you guys will be able to understand why I said what I said. So, do you think you're ready to leave, and why?
Except on the financial aspect, I believe that I'm ready to leave the home. I can do well on my own. I'm living in school right now. I'm living by myself, just near my roommate. So I can do well on my own, apart from the financial aspect. Like I'm living a double life, something of that, because at home I'm inside, I'm indoors, I'm not doing anything. But when I get to school, I like to work. My midnight work, I don't miss it. That was when I was in the hostel, but now it's like 10 o'clock. I work out. I like to visit places, even if I don't have money. Just go to like a location, just pay your transport, stay there, just go to swim or something. Apart from the financial aspect, I think I can do very well living on my own.
Yes and no. No, because I'm still in school and I'm not earning any money. So no, I don't think I'm ready. But emotionally, yes, I feel like once I have money, once I've like saved up enough, the next thing I'm going to do is actually leave. So, which is something that never used to cross my mind when I was younger. Until recently, I just feel like I need to leave their space. So yes, definitely, I am ready.
Do I think I'm ready to leave home? Hell nope. I'm not ready to leave home. Why? Because the world out there is expensive and I do not have something that will keep me above the financial level you get. I am not mentally ready, financially ready, morally safe. I think maybe just 60%. Because you need to be really ready for everything.
I am not ready to leave home. I don't think I'm ready to leave home at all. In fact, I'm definitely not ready to leave home. And the major reason, honestly, is for economic reasons, financial reasons. I do not have that kind of money to leave home and be alone on my own. I'm not ready to leave home yet. But maybe when I have a steady source of income, that'd be cool.
I don't think I'm ready to leave the house now. Firstly, I don't feel pressure to, as a girl in Nigeria, you don't actually have that pressure to leave your parents' house, unlike guys. So, yeah, I want to be like financially stable, first. So I think being in my parents' house is a good start for now, because, all the stories of people, the whole thing on Twitter and everybody that is living alone saying about the hardships of adult life and living alone, that they wish they could go back to their parents' house and all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to just like rush and make a decision I'll regret. So I'm gonna plan, strategically, and make my next move.
Wait, some of you are finding it hard to go back home. I am sorry if I come off as sensitive. I am sorry for laughing, I beg. But I don't understand. If there's something I'm missing, please, in the Spotify Q&As, I need some enlightenment. So I beg, tell me why you think some people are finding it hard to go back home. Like, it shouldn't be that difficult, Abby. It should be a gradual thing. Like, hello, I came to greet people for the weekend, and from there gradually encroach into their space and into their lives back again, because everywhere is hard. But the thing is, you shouldn't end up being a burden to them. It should not be an issue where you are at home all day. I am sorry for the background noise. I am terribly sorry. I will explain why there's so much noise in the next episode, because this episode has become so lengthy and I cannot fit again. So yeah, I will just ask the last two questions. Yeah, there are two questions left, so I will just ask them, and I will leave the contributors to I'll leave you to listen to all the contributors have to say in response to these last two questions, and then I'll come back and we'll wrap this thing up. So yeah, let's do it. So the last two questions are, even if your family life is difficult, how can staying at home for a time benefit you? And while at home, what can you do that will both benefit your family and help you prepare to manage on your own, or manage your own household?
Home is like a safe place. I said that earlier. So staying at home is quite beneficial because you don't get to like the daily hustle and bustle of the town. It's just like a safe place. You feel comfortable and guided while you're home. It's just like home. How did they put that thing? Whether the house is where the home is, I don't forget how they talk. But when I'm at home, you feel that security.
I benefit from relaxing at home, watching movies, obviously anime. I think that's the only benefits I get from home. And yes, the food. And of course, home is like your own place. You can do whatever you want. It's like it's a different kind of freedom, different from hostel freedom. You can just relax. You can almost stay in your house without even bathing for like morning till night. If nobody gives a f, nobody will even remind you. Just do whatever you want. Stay in your room, watch, play video games. So it's benefit.
Plenty ways of food. You will not be buying fuel for jet. You will not be paying the lights. You will not be doing so many things. You will be fending for yourself. Do you know how hard it is to take care of an apartment? If anything spoil, now your money go use repair them, or it stays like that. So yeah, it saves cost, a lot of cost. I'm not even talking of house rent safe. It does. So you have to choose. You have to, if the person's family life is difficult, you have to choose Nigerian difficulty or your family life difficulty. Choose one. Choose one. So that's why I say, like, if you can afford it, that's when you are now ready. But if you just want to run away because your family life is difficult, like the question says, you are not. I don't think so. I don't think that's enough reason, Sha.
Everybody has their own thing that they are dealing with in their family, but staying at home time benefit you because you learn a lot from home than outside. I'm not even lie. So when you see the way your parents act, you cross your mind and you cross your mind and you be like, oh more, I'm not going to do this when it's my turn. I'm going to handle the situation quite differently like this. You know, there is more peace. There is less debit alerts. I'm very focused on this debit alerts because I saw shaking in school. There is less debit alerts, yes. There is more food safe. You get a lot safe. There's a lot. They play.
There's no household without difficulties, but even in the midst of the difficulties, I feel like staying at home can be beneficial in certain ways. For example, like I said before in my previous point, I don't have the financial capacity to leave my house, but staying at home can help you, can help me. Let me personalize it now. Staying at home is of economical benefit for me, not just because I don't have to spend much, but I get to see how my parents spend their money. I get to see how they cut costs. I get to see how they plan and things like this. And then there's this emotional support. There's this emotional support that I get from my parents. And well, even though friends can provide that too, it's just special when it's from your parents. And also, there's also this additional knowledge when it comes to handling difficult situations. Staying at home, you are going to encounter a lot of things. I encounter a lot of things even in my house, and my parents too. They're humans, like I said before. Sometimes they may have some difficult situations, and me seeing them overcome those difficult situations, it's really kind of an educating moment for me. Me realizing that okay, I can actually solve this problem in this way and whatnot. So yeah, staying at home is it's really beneficial for me, even though staying at home may be difficult. Well, I wouldn't really have the luxury of learning all these things outside my home. Well, there's also culture and language and stuff like that, learning to bond.
So yeah, family life is difficult. It can be difficult to get along with family members. My family members, they drive me crazy, like seriously, but I still love them though. So staying at home, yeah, it's going to benefit me with all the things I want to do. Sometimes having a place to stay instead of squatting with people or having to pay rent, is good. So sometimes if your family members are driving you nuts, but the saying, the devil is better than the angel you don't know. So you go to all these nice friends and you want to squat with them and you're going to see Pepe. So it's something, I think it's better to stay at home. Learning to cooperate with my family even when they drive me crazy is going to improve my people skills and my social skills, and it's going to strengthen our bond and all of that. So I think it's better to stay at home for now until I'm financially stable.
What can you do that will both benefit your family and help you prepare to manage your own household on your home? Money is an important aspect. At least I know that, that part alone, that part is very important. Think you can help them by doing that, bringing money into the family. Trust me, once a child start bringing money into their household, they be like, the respect all of it magically increased.
I think with the lessons I've gotten over the years, I can manage to live on my own. Like all the persistent complaint, you're not doing this right, you're not, because I don't do a lot. I'm not the perfect child, so all the persistent complaining like is grooming you to become a better person eventually on the long run. But sometimes I see it as unnecessary the way the African parent or African mother complain back for everything consistently. But somehow it's beneficial.
Helping out like with chores and financially also. Yeah, helping out with chores and financially. And even relating with your parents safe. Like also prepare somebody for their own house, because in relating with your parents, you know what you don't want to do in your own house. It kind of prepares you. You know how you want to run your home. You know also how to, especially if you have difficult family members, you know how to deal with difficult people. So that like, cause you living and running your household, you also meet individuals with different characters. Forget in a house where everybody has the same background and there are still differences. Now imagine having your own house with someone else with a different background. How difficult it's going to be able to live with that person and adjust to that person's terms. So living in a house where you have to adjust with other people kind of prepares you for like you get your having your own household than people that didn't really stay with their parents. Like I know there are some people that immediately what am I saying? Like from uni, even before they graduated from uni, they had like their own place and stuff. So they're like used to being on their own. Um, but let's say it would be more. I don't feel like it would be more difficult, for them to adjust to living with someone. I don't think so, because your mind is your own, and a task is as difficult as your mind makes it seem, and that's just the truth. So you see some people readily adjust no matter where they're coming from, but I feel like sometimes environment helps to shape the mind. So if you have done like if you start living with your partner and you feel like, oh, the differences are a lot, you feel like, oh, I lived with somebody else my whole life, so this is not weird to me. For example, sharing your space or sharing a bed, or maybe just sharing your room. Like, okay, I've always shared room with somebody, you just be used to it, you understand?
I already help in house chores, but I feel like if I am much more active in decision making of the house, I will learn and I will understand how it's done and stuff like that. I think if I should do that more, that it will benefit all of us. Because sometimes their decisions are just out of place, but you cannot talk, or I do not talk, which is wrong. I think I'll start doing that more often.
While at home, what can you do that will both benefit your family and help you prepare to manage your own household on your own? There are a lot of things, but the first thing to come to my mind right now is cooking. Cooking. Let me explain that. So while I'm at home, cooking is going to like benefit the whole family, right? And learning how to make certain dishes, learning how to prepare food, learning techniques that make food last longer, that make them taste better. It's it's a benefit my family. Everybody's enjoying good food, and then we don't have to spend so much on buying food outside. In fact, we almost never buy food outside. But then that would be how it can help me manage my own household. Another thing is having a tidy environment. My parents love a tidy environment, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons why I love a tidy environment as well. But I almost cannot stand when floors are not clean. It's almost like it calls out to me, clean me, sweep me. So making sure the house is tidy is something that is important to me. So it would help me manage my own household. So whenever I come home, I open the door and I've had a very long day, maybe even angry, I can enter into my house and be comfortable. So yeah. There's one other thing though, is getting household essentials that are pocket friendly. Sometimes when I'm buying stuff with my mom and my dad, there's some decisions that they make that it's it really impresses me, like wow, I totally would not have thought of that. So sometimes too, whenever I am sent to buy some things for the house, I try my best to make those decisions well, so everyone can be happy. And learning those little skills can also help me have a really, really comfortable household I really look forward to setting up one day.
Oh my god, so it's been fun listening to all the interesting takes on what you can gain from skills you can gain from staying at home and benefits of staying home. So Presley was the first person to talk about food, and that's so hilarious. Come on, I mean, I love the realness. I got to give it to him. You guys have to also understand that Presley is somebody that is dealing with the very trauma of staying in Uniben's infamous school hostel or 4. So I honestly do not blame him. So yeah, we've talked about rules. So talk about rules, staying home, living home, etc., etc. So, and we talked about how you can earn more freedom. Well, the key element there is trust and communication. So yeah, trust is like money. Earning it is hard and losing it is easy. So you need to learn to build a relationship with them. If you've lost their trust, I gave tips earlier on how you can gain their trust, and you should also question yourself if the fault is on your side. Does your pattern or behavior give your parents a reason to withhold their trust? And yeah, so ask yourself those important questions, and everything will turn out fine, you know. So for those of you that still want to leave home, say you not get within in our talk, me go come out this year. Well, considering all of the economic crises that is going on, you must be a very, very rich person, to be very, very honest. So know that long before you are ready to leave home, you may begin to feel a desire of independence. That feeling is very normal. But how can you know when you are truly ready to leave home? Consider these 3 important questions you need to answer. The first is, what are my motives? What are your motives? Did you know your motive for leaving home can affect how happy you will be after? I mean, if it's normal to be independent, like it's normal to want independence, but if your motive for moving out is just to get away from rules, it just shows that you are not really ready to move out. Yeah. So the second question you should ask yourself is, are you prepared? I mean, moving out on your own is like hiking in a wilderness or walking in a desert all alone. You need to learn survival skills before you start that kind of journey. So, do you have necessary skills like to stay on your own? Can you manage money properly? Do you have core domestic skills? Some of you are lazy pereres. Lazy pereres when it comes to chores. You guys can leave plates to soak. Dirty dishes. People will soak it. Everyone will be stinking and smelling. People say people don't have power. Do you have good domestic skills? Do you have social skills? Do you get along well with your parents and siblings? If not, you might assume that life will be easier when you move out. When you move in with a friend. No, God said that. Somebody will come and say to you people will end up killing yourselves. Oh my God. And another skill that you could have that you need to have is a spiritual routine. It not necessarily mean you must be a Christian or a Muslim or a traditional person. Just at least a period where a routine you do just to meditate and reflect on yourself and on your soul and your spirit, because it's very, very important to stay in tune with your spiritual life. And the last question you need to ask yourself is, where are you headed? Where am I headed? Do you want to leave home to get away from problems or to break free from parental authority? If so, your focus is on what you are leaving, not on where you are going. Yes. That approach is like trying to drive with your eyes fixed on the rearview mirror. You are so preoccupied with what you are moving away from that you are blind to what is ahead. The lesson: don't just concentrate on moving away from your home. Have your eyes fixed on a worthwhile goal. Yes. So the real question is not, am I ready to leave home? But am I ready to manage my own household? If the answer to the latter question is yes, then you may well be ready to strike out on your own. So whatever your goal may be, think it through. So with that, I hope we've been able to help you provide answers to your questions on freedom and leaving home. So yeah, we're coming a close this episode. Thank God, hallelujah. And this means that we'll be starting properly, the show properly, in 2 or 3 weeks. If you don't see a new episode in 2 weeks' time, you definitely see it in the 3rd week. Yes, so I'll try to be consistent, and I'll fill you guys in all you need to know. And we're going to start that episode afresh. So thank you so much for listening to this very time. I'm sorry this episode that is lengthy. It's not my fault. The contributors giving their opinions, and it's kind of my fault, but anywho, thank you so much for listening to this very moment. You are a real MVP. Do well to check out our social media platforms. Check out the Answers for Gen Z newsletter. Just go to @Answers for Gen Z on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Yeah, thank you all so much. Do well to give this podcast a 5-star rating. Very, very important. If you are listening to Spotify, engage in the polls, give your opinions and your thoughts and your what's it called? Give your opinions and your thoughts on the Q&As. So yeah, if you have anything you need to suggest or any topic you would like us to discuss furthermore on the show, email us at Answers for Gen Z. There's a link in the description box. Everything You hear everything, I beg. I need to go and rest and prepare for the next episodes. Thank you so much. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Answers for Gen Z. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please hit that follow or subscribe button to stay updated with my latest episodes. I have so much in store for you, and if you found value in what you've heard today, consider sharing it with your friends and family. Word of mouth goes a long way in helping the podcast grow. I also love getting your feedback. Take a moment to rate and leave a comment on Spotify or your favorite podcast platform. If you're listening through Spotify, engage in the polls. Your input matters and it helps us improve. This is an independent podcast. If you'd like to support us financially and help us improve the show, you can find links in the podcast link tree for donations. Even a small contribution goes a long way in keeping the podcast going. Check out the podcast newsletter Answers for Gen Z More Than a Pod. It's a fantastic way to dive deeper into the episodes and get a glimpse into my personal thoughts on pop culture and experiences. You'll find it on the pod's link tree right there on the show notes of this episode. Don't forget to explore the show notes or this episode's description for the social media handles of our amazing contributors. If you're interested in becoming a contributor for the show, just send an email to answersforgenz@gmail.com or send me a direct message on my social media. I am always excited to collaborate with fellow enthusiasts. We value your voice. Send a voice message through the link provided in the show notes. Your thoughts, feedback, and topic suggestions are all welcome. Lastly, join the WhatsApp community and podcast WhatsApp channel. It's a great way to stay even more connected with me and fellow listeners. Thank you once again for being a part of our podcast community. I'll be back with more exciting content soon. Until then, stay curious, keep listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.